What's up, everyone? Aaron Schatz here, Editor-in-Chief of ASE Publishing, and today, yes, today, we're going to be doing the Huawei P8 Lite. This is review ID 52921. You can check out this and all our reviews by going to www.aselabs.com. You don't need to do that, though. You can actually hit the subscribe button that I'm going to put right here. See, there's going to be this box thing right here. It'll probably be like a darker box. It'll say subscribe. You hit that, you'll be subscribed to our ASE Labs YouTube channel, which you are watching right now. There also is a link in the description of this video to the text summary of this video review. So for instance, if you're at work and you can't listen to sound, you can hit the text link and find the summary of this review along with some pictures of the product. This goes for all the video reviews that we do. So if you're at work and you can't listen to any sound, hit the link below, you get the summary and everything. You can watch the video later. But for now, we've got the P8 Lite in hand. Let's see what's going on with it. If you haven't seen the unboxing, I'm going to be putting it right in this general vicinity right here. However, like I mentioned in the unboxing, we actually have a press form of the actual product instead of a retail box. So that means it didn't come with some stuff. In the retail packaging, you're going to get the phone, USB a micro USB cable, AC adapter, a quick start guide, and a 3.5mm headset. So you don't need to watch the unboxing because ours is slightly different anyway, but if you wanted to, it's still right up here. But now you don't need to. The first thing we're going to do is actually go over the exterior of the P8 Lite. So I want to make a size comparison first. This is a Galaxy S4, 2 generations old, right? We're up to the Galaxy S6. You can see that it's basically the same size. And this is actually slightly thinner. This is a Nexus 5X. It is bigger. Not much, but it's bigger. Slightly bigger, just slightly bigger. And this is the trend going on with phones these days. Even this is supposed to be like the smaller end of the Nexus line. And Huawei even makes the Nexus 6P. And the Nexus 6P is gigantic compared to this. This, to me, along with the Nexus 5X, is pretty much the sweet spots of everything. So, this is starting to get a little too big again. For me, at least. And I think, really, the P8 Lite hits a sweet spot for me. The screen size is really proportioned to the actual front of the device itself. You have bezels on the top and bottom, but hardly any bezels on the left and the right. So if you have fat fingers, you're probably going to hit the screen a little bit. If we move around to the actual sides of the P8 Lite, on the side with the power button and the volume, you have the power button right here, which is a little abnormal for most people, because most people have a power button that's actually fairly long, like on the Nexus 5, for instance, it's a larger power button. This one's a single button. It does help with tactile feedback, so you'll know if your thumb hits it, you'll know that it's the actual power button. The volume rocker is right above that. Up, down volume, no problem. Below that, you have 2 card slots, and they actually serve multiple purposes, which we'll go into. Moving to the top of the device, you have a microphone, speaker, headphone jack, and if you look at the front, speaker, sensors, microphone down here. You have speakers down here. These are the speakers for actually putting out over the loudspeakers, not like this. This is a headset speaker. So if you actually want to view a video, for instance, you're going to hold the device like this so you cup the actual sound coming back at you. Unlike a lot of other devices that have dual speakers on the front, this does not. It just has it on the bottom. Still, the sound was pretty good. Not as good as the one that had front-facing speakers, but it was still pretty good. To the bottom of the device, again, you have the 2 speakers, and you have the micro USB charging port. To the back of the device, you have the logo, obviously, and you have the camera, flash, and that's basically it. This is a 13 megapixel camera in the back. The front is a 5 megapixel camera. You know, selfies today. What are you going to do? The glass on the front is Gorilla Glass 3, and encases the entire front, so-called edge-to-edge glass, and that's fine. I've dropped it a bunch of times already, just for strictly testing, of course. I've dropped it. It wasn't on concrete, it was just on carpet and stuff, obviously for testing. Nothing really bad happen to it. I've had it jiggling around with keys in a gym bag and stuff, and there's no worse for wear, there's no scratches or anything. You know, a quick cleaning on your shirt, and really it's good as new. So Gorilla Glass is really good stuff. This is Gorilla Glass 3. And you shouldn't be worried about putting any screen protectors on it. I mean, phones nowadays, the screen is pretty tough. I want to show you what these two slots here are for. So basically, this phone is a dual SIM phone. So if I actually show you, use a little SIM unlock tool right here. So you just push down here, and this one comes out. Now, whoop, this is where the micro SIM. So here's the interesting part about this phone. You have a few different ways of actually utilizing a micro SD card and SIM cards. If you want to use a micro SD card, you can only use a micro SIM. You cannot use a nano SIM. If you only have a nano SIM, you have to use the top slot. So up here, open this one up. This has a slot for a nano SIM or a micro SD card. You can't use both. So if you have a nano SIM and you want to use a micro SD card, you have to put it into a micro SIM form factor, which actually T-Mobile gives you. So these little things punch out, and you can make a nano SIM into a micro SIM or vice versa, as long as you have the little cutout thing with it. So if you wanted to use a SIM card and an SD card, you need a micro SIM and a micro SD card. The micro SD card will go in here. I just chose not to do it because I wanted to see how the internal devices of the phone works. SD card works fine in here, by the way. And then the micro SIM goes in this section right here. Just got to make sure you line everything up. It actually is labeled on here. It says, you know, micro SIM. And it says face down. So make sure it's face down. And then you just pop that bad boy in there. Let's make sure it works. Probably have to restart the phone, of course. So that's basically that. So again, you have three options. If you want to use two SIMs, one of them is going to be a nano SIM, one of them is going to be a micro SIM. You cannot use a micro SD card in this case. If you want to use a micro SD card, you can only use a micro SIM. So that means if you're going to use a micro SD card, you only have one SIM available. If you want to use a nano SIM, you can't use a micro SD card at all. That's just the way it is. Let's talk about the frequency bands of this. This is the US version of the P8 Lite, which means it supports most of the AT&T and T-Mobile frequency bands. It does support band 12 for T-Mobile. However, it's only supported if KitKat is loaded on this device. This was released in May of this year, 2015. It came with KitKat originally, and Lollipop has been out for months already. So, why? Now, it originally released with band 12 support in KitKat. To upgrade this to Lollipop, it's a pretty manual process. However, you do get 5.1 on this device, so there is that. Also, very important, this has an unlockable bootloader. You just send an email to them, they'll actually send you the unlock code, and you're good to go. So hopefully there's a development community that's going to be like doing stuff for this device. However, in my research, the development community is very small, so I don't know if you're going to have like updates that you would on the Nexus device or even a Galaxy device because the community is so much larger. However, this does have an unlockable bootloader, so theoretically, if you were daring enough and you had the skill set, you could actually port other Android versions to this without a problem, theoretically. However, if you're waiting for a developer to do it, it might take you a long time or it'll never happen. So, Huawei really couldn't tell me if they were planning on upgrading this past Android 5.1. And that's really unfortunate because this is a pretty nice device. Not only that, once I actually did the upgrade to 5.1, which again was a manual process, kind of a pain, band 12 support is gone. T-Mobile probably got to them and said, hey, you probably don't support voice over LTE or some other random ridiculous thing that T-Mobile says that has to be in there for band 12 support, and they just said, okay, fine, we'll remove the support. And I'm pretty sure that's T-Mobile saying that. However, you know, it goes either way on people saying, oh, blah, 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 whatever. Needless to say, if you have 5.1 on this device, it doesn't support band 12 anymore. If you really want band 12 service, you're going to have to downgrade to KitKat, which I really don't recommend doing at all. What we're going to do right now is show you the actual stock interface of the P8 Lite. Huawei calls it the Emotion UI. Now, generally, I'm not a fan of stock interfaces. However, the stock interface of the P8 Lite isn't too terrible. they do some minimal skinning to Android. One thing I will say is I'm not a fan of the launcher that they use. So I'm going to superimpose this probably on this side of the screen so you'll see like what I'm seeing on the screen. So this is the default view of the Emotion UI. This is the Huawei launcher that they give you. One of the things I really don't like is that there's no place to actually find where all the applications are installed. So for instance, I installed Hangouts and I have no idea where it is. It's gone. It's gone because it probably tried to put an icon on this screen and it couldn't because it was full and it just gave up. So now I have no idea how to get to Hangouts anymore. So this is why generally, whenever I get a phone and I don't like the interface, I'll install Nova Launcher or something and just use that. So for instance, if I want to install Nova, you can do that really easily. However, if you want a really simple iPhone-ish type of home screen, this will work fine. However, I suggest just downloading another launcher. You can use the Google Now launcher. They all work just fine. This has the Play Store. So if you want to install Nova, for instance, you would just go to the Play Store, just do that right now. And I already have it installed. So you hit Nova Launcher, right? And I have Prime because it's awesome. I really suggest buying Nova Launcher Prime. It's really good stuff. And then you install it. Once it's installed, you hit Open. And then boom. So now, if this is the first time you have two home screens, you would hit the Home button, and then it would actually prompt you what to do. If you already did that and you by accident said, "Oh, I want to use this other home screen," you basically go to Manage Apps, and you hit this little default app settings right here, and you go to Launcher, and then you go Nova Launcher, and then you put Change. Boom. So now when you hit this, you'll be thrust into Nova. And I like Nova. It's more of the stock Android experience. Now let's go back into settings real quick. You can see that the settings menu is actually a little stylized than the Android default, which is fine. It doesn't really add too much, cruff. The Galaxy series of devices in their TouchWiz interface, I can't stand for some reason. I just can't stand them. I don't like them. So because it says dual SIMs, you're going to have this special dual card management screen. So if you had two SIMs in this device, you'd be able to see them and actually do everything in here. And this phone number that's on the screen doesn't really matter because this is a temporary SIM. So there you go. If you want to call it, go right ahead. Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, I don't see NFC anywhere on here. Now this has all the general settings for everything that you would expect for Android, so there's nothing really different in here. If you're on the Huawei launcher, you can actually go to a simplified launcher that looks really like something like a Windows phone would do. If you want to, you can do that. However, really, most people are just going to use Nova Launcher or Google Now Launcher and be done with it. The display, you get the regular, all this stuff is exactly the same as a normal Android. So you don't have anything to worry about. Once you know Android, this all is the same stuff. Let's see if there's anything really different. There are some slight differences in the screen lock and password section. So the screen lock style, not that one, the password. They make you put in a password and then make you put in a PIN to actually do everything. So if I don't want to do this because I don't want to show you my my swipe thing, but basically I think this might be common on Android now, but you basically put in a pattern and then you put in a PIN to unlock it in case you screw up your pattern you don't remember. I'm not a fan of that. I don't know why, I'm just not a fan of that. It has things like Smart Unlock, and I'm not going to show you, but basically all the standard stuff in Android it has. Let's see here what else I want to show you that's not really stuff in stock Android. Oh, okay. It has things for smart assistants, like motion control. You can actually flip this to mute the thing. You could shake it to rearrange icons and stuff or whatever. It's stuff that you know generally you'll be like, oh, this is cool once, and then never use. I don't know why. This is actually pretty interesting. This is something that I think should be built into all Android devices in the stock everything. So this allows you to actually change the little navigation bar on the bottom of the phone where you have these three icons. So you can actually change it to something like this to actually put a notification pull down, and you could see that my phone added a fourth button on the bottom. And that's actually really nifty, and I like that you can rearrange this. This is Android. It's meant to be customizable, so I like that. However, I'm just going to keep it that way because it's fine. This one-handed UI, it's on, but I haven't noticed any difference, so there you go. I also installed the Google keyboard because I wasn't a fan of the one that was on the device. Again, all this stuff is through Google Play. So if you go into the Play Store, you can install whatever stuff you want. You can install the Google Now Launcher, you can install the Google keyboard and whatever. All that stuff. You can install Google Calendar, everything. Chrome, everything. That's the power of the Play Store and Android. Oh, this is interesting. There's a gloves mode. So for instance, if you have gloves that don't have like a capacitive button, theoretically this will actually work. I've never tried it because I have gloves that do have that, and it really hasn't been cold enough to actually wear gloves. So if you have gloves mode on, it's going to like have a hypersensitive touchscreen. Most of the other stuff is exactly the same, so I'm not going to show you. This About phone is the same thing, except you can see that the Emotion UI is 3.1. And if we scroll down, CPU says it's an octa-core 1.5 gigahertz. I believe it's a Qualcomm 615. 2 gigs of RAM, is built-in 16 gigs of ROM, and most of it's taken up with the operating system, but I still have 7 gigs free, and that's pretty good. Android version 5.1. Resolution is 720 by 1280, or 1280 by 720 if you're in landscape. And you can see that, you can go into statuses. You can see that I have a 41% battery level right now, and this has been on for 3 days so far. 41% is pretty good after 3 days. So let me just show you what I actually mean by that. And the uptime is like 12 minutes because I just restarted the thing to actually, get the SIM card working again. Now, let me go into battery. Go into battery right here. Forgot to show you that initially. So let's go into battery. My use case is slightly different. I generally don't use the phone that often during the day. I, check messages every once in a while. Generally, if I'm commuting somewhere, I'll use the phone for watching Netflix and stuff. And actually, I've gotten plenty of time. I've gotten 3 hours of watching Netflix here and there, and the phone still lasted the entire day for, 10 hours of use in that day. In my general case right now, I just, if I'm going out to a store, go to the gym, check the phone every once in a while, you can see the screen on time is not that crazy. It's 1 hour and 17 minutes, and that's pretty good considering, let's see the actual time on battery. Boom. Look at that time on battery. Look at that. You can see 2 days, 3 hours, 4 minutes, 5 minutes almost. And you can see just like how much it's been going down. Wi-Fi's been on all the time. It's been awake sometimes. Now obviously I don't have the screen on all the time. But still, that's pretty good. This thing should easily last you an hour. I think the battery is a 2200 milliamp hour battery. And they've done something right with the actual power saving on here. 41% after this long a time, even in standby mode, is impressive. Leaving this off the charger and you're like, oh crap, I left this off the charger, it's not going to be good all day. You still get, the drain on this is pretty light. So you don't have to worry too much about charging it every single day if you're like me and you don't use the phone that often to watch videos and stuff. Now, if you're going to watch videos every day on the commute and stuff, you're going to want to charge it every day because nobody likes to run out of juice on their phone. So there you go. But as you can see, this phone is pretty good on battery power, at least in my opinion. Moving on from the battery screen, let's go into the camera, because that's pretty much it. Oh, before I do that, I just want to show you some stuff that was actually preloaded. So obviously a lot of the stuff on here I've loaded also. They have this community thing in here. Oh, again, let me go into CPU-Z first. I will show you that this is a Qualcomm 615, Snapdragon 615, right here. And you can see all the little stuff right here. It's got an Adreno 405 GPU. So quad-core, that's a Qualcomm Snapdragon 615, and there you go. Let's show you the sensors, because this is actually pretty cool about CPU-Z. Look at all these sensors, that's cool. You got a proximity sensor, a magnetometer, compass, accelerometer, and there's probably one more that I'm missing. Oh, accelerometer. And a light sensor. All cool stuff. I like seeing this stuff. Cover the light sensor, boom. Got the proximity sensor going. Alright, enough playtime. Now, let's go back into the applications. This is actually pretty easy on the built-in applications. You get this community application, which, whatever. There's an FM radio. You have to plug in the actual headset if you want to use the FM radio. Oh, it's got a flashlight. turn on the flashlight. Watch this. Boom. Come on. What are you doing? There you go. Flashlight. Wow. Wow. I mean, I know that's a big thing for people that they have a flashlight. Gallery is standard. I don't like the gallery. I like photos now, but gallery is standard Android open source project thing, so I understand why. However, I'm a big fan of photos because they automatically back up now. Let's see. You have a magnifier. And see that? Look, it magnifies it by the camera. That's awesome. See, I can get really, wow. It's kind of cool. Whatever. You have the built-in messaging. Again, I like Hangouts, so there you go. I use Hangouts. It's got Route 66 navigation built in. But why wouldn't you use Google Maps? So again, I don't know why that's there. Oh, you have a mirror. So if I hit mirror, yeah, it's exactly what you think. It's the front-facing camera. Hi. There you go. Look terrible. It's got a notepad on there. Office Suite is loaded on there, which I actually like. It's a pretty cool thing. And of course, I get some messages coming in. I should have put the phone in airplane mode to stop the messages from coming in. You get the phone manager, which I don't think really does much. Oh yeah, it does all this kind of like cool stuff. For instance, it can like scan and clean the storage and stuff. It does power saving modes. However, you can get all this stuff in the settings menu anyway. Let's just scan what else you got in here. You got 2 SIM toolkits, and every time I've used them, nothing happens, so I don't even know what they do. You got a little support thing, which who cares? Themes. So if you click themes, you can actually change the look of the device and the icons of the device too by hitting this. I like the default, so there you go. You can hit customize, and then you can change all the actual stuff like the unlock animation, the screen lock style, and all this cool stuff. So you actually get fairly nice customization with the Emotion UI. This updater doesn't work. It may work, but it never worked for things like if you want to update to Lollipop from KitKat, ain't gonna happen. You gotta do it manually. See what else. I think weather was a built-in app too, but again, you can use Google Now. I mean, it's like crazy. Oh, it says insert SIM card, probably because I dislodged it a little bit. Anyway, let's just say that I want to find the weather out. Why would I just not do something like this? Okay, Google. What's the weather going to be like today?
Today's forecast for Bridgewater is 72 degrees and cloudy.
Exactly. Exactly. Wow, 72 degrees. And you know what? Christmas is tomorrow. That's pretty much an overview of the interface and everything of the phone. Like I said, I'm not a fan of the Emotion UI's take on the launcher. However, as an overall thing, it's totally fine. It doesn't add too much of anything to the actual device, and it's not like it's... So if you've used a Samsung device and you've seen TouchWiz, that's crazy. That's just basically taking Android and just throwing it in the toilet. This has some tweaks and subtleties to it, and I like that. One thing that I want to show you, notification pull down. So if you see the notification pull down right here, you can see that I have the screen recorder on, and that's fine. You can see that the message is there. This is the thing I don't understand about this. So the problem with this is if you see on Gmail right now, the actual person that's from is dark, and it's just something's wrong with the colors. They said they're going to hopefully fix that in a future build. But otherwise, the notifications pull down is fairly standard. You have this little trash thing in the lower left that actually clears them all out, so that's nice. And you have the shortcuts. So for instance, I could turn off the mobile data, general stuff that Android has had for a few versions now, totally normal stuff. That's basically the overview of the software. Let's go into camera real quick, and I'll show you like the different modes of the camera. So this is the camera software. If you don't like this, you can use the Google camera, so there you go. However, this is the camera, and you can see that this is what I see when I see you. And I'm going to show you a few photos here that I've taken over the course of a couple days, and I will just superimpose them onto this video as I'm talking in various things right here. So let's just keep going into the camera, So you've got some options in here, right? You have all focus, which basically is the mode where you could just like take a picture and then change the focus and everything. I'm not a fan of stuff like that for some reason, so I don't like using that. Best photo, HDR. So HDR, a lot of people just like always have HDR on. It's pretty quick. You know, you're going to have some lag time. It's not like the Nexus series where the HDR is really quick. This has some lag time. So if you're one of those people that needs to like get a shot really quickly, turn HDR off. However, the HDR shot's pretty good. So there you go. You can add an audio note with all these things that I'm not a fan of. Panorama is built in, so yes, it does panorama. Let's see the more advanced settings. So you see that the resolution, 13 megapixel, you got all the way down to 6 megapixel. You can add a GPS tag if you want, which apparently I am doing, or not doing because I hate doing it. So no, I don't want to use GPS tag. You can mute the actual shutter, which is good. I always like that. Never really hated when that shutter comes on, unless you're, you know, if you're in an area where you, okay, here's the thing. If you're in like, if you're a creep, yeah, you could turn the mute off, but I just don't like having that shutter on if I'm taking pictures just in, you know, outdoor environments anyway. There's no reason to do that. I have the visual feedback, so there you go. You can have an audio control, for instance. So you could say cheese to take photos and stuff like that, gimmicky stuff, but it works. So for instance, if you're taking a photo of people, you can get in the photo and say cheese, boom, photo gets taken. Timer. So you can have a timer to actually take photos on a specific timer. This is all the standard stuff that you would get in any camera software. Object tracking, touch and hold the shutter button's burst mode. So for instance, if I held the shutter button, it would just take a series of pictures. Again, all fairly standard. I'll show you the actual images as I'm talking for a lot of the other device. Obviously, if you switch over to video, it does video as well. Little capturing video right here, so just do that. Boom, now I'm capturing video. I just realized that there's a vacuum in the background. That's awesome. And if I scroll over here, you know what I mean. There's the dog. Coco! You sleeping? That's a good dog. Let's come back over to here. And that's basically video. And then you have time lapse. So you could actually keep this in a location and then put it somewhere and have a time lapse video. So it's got some pretty interesting stuff. However, I'm a big fan of having the stock camera or the Google Now or the Google camera. So there you go. So if you wanted to actually take a selfie, boom, you hit this button right here. Selfie. Whoa, I look terrible. Wow. Great, don't remind me again. Thanks. Selfie. Terrible shot. Boom. Go back to that side. And there you go. That's pretty much the entire software that I wanted to go over. Let's talk about the general use of the device, because really that's what you're going to be doing with this phone all day. You're going to be picking it up, putting it down, answering calls, and doing all that good stuff. I actually thoroughly enjoyed using this device. Now, granted, it's not like a Nexus 5X where it's pure Android experience. However, it feels good in the hand. It's very responsive. The Qualcomm Snapdragon 615 does an excellent job at keeping pace for all the daily use that I had. The only time that I notice sluggishness, and this generally goes for most Android phones for some reason, is if I'm installing a program and it's downloading stuff, the interface gets a little sluggish. Now, that happens on most Android phones. I don't know why, and I don't know. I haven't really tried the Nexus 5X that I have yet because I've been testing this. However, I've noticed the same issues on most other phones, and that's the only time I notice sluggishness. Generally, I don't notice any kind of UI lag at all, so that's really good stuff. If you want to see some sample images from the P8 Lite, make sure you stick around to the end of the review. We'll have some actual sample images attached to the end of the review. Since this runs Android 5.1, which is a fairly current version of Android, I actually got to use Android Auto with it. Now, this has nothing to do with Huawei. This has everything to do with Android Auto. Yes, this works fine with Android Auto. However, Android Auto is kind of a letdown right now. It needs to do a lot more. It has nothing to do with this review. I'm just, as an aside note, because I was actually using Android Auto with this phone, and I'm kind of bummed at what Google did with it. There's so much potential, and they just are keeping it so locked down, it's crazy. However, it works fine with it, so if you have a head unit that supports Android Auto, this works fine with it. I know I said that this has dual SIM. The one thing I don't really understand is why it takes different SIM cards. Why does one take micro SIM and the other one take nano SIM? And then if you have a nano SIM, why can't you use an SD card? Like, those are the kind of things I don't understand. To me, the SD card should have been, fine, and then you should be able to put a nano SIM in there. Both of these slots should be nano SIMs. It shouldn't be one is micro and one is nano. They should be both the same. End of story, they should be both the same. There's no reason not to. I don't understand. Yes, you can just get a tray and pop your nano SIM in and make it a micro SIM, especially if you want to use the SD card functionality, which I'm sure most people would want to do. So if you want an SD card in here, you have to use a micro SIM. The resolution is 720p. Now, that might not seem that much. However, if you look at the screen, I mean, you saw it already on the actual video itself, but if you look at the screen, you'll be hard-pressed to actually notice any difference between this and any other device. If you're holding it this far away, generally, you're not noticing that this screen is a lower resolution than other screens. Now, granted, other phones have higher resolutions, but I'm telling you, 720p in a device this size is just fine. Only the really people that nitpick are going to figure that saying, oh, I notice a huge difference. The color quality is good, images look good, everything looks good on the screen. Now granted, it's not a super high AMOLED screen, but it really gets the job done. I can see it in sunlight, and it works well. In daily use with the P8 Lite, the touchscreen is very responsive. I notice no real lag on inputs. Now, of course, that might be due to the Snapdragon 615 or whatever, but no appreciable lag in the touch inputs and no finickiness. Like, for instance, sometimes you get some miscalibrations or something. None of that was happening with this. So touchscreen works fine, no problems, and it's pretty easy to use. The good thing about glass is that your finger slides on it. So if you have a screen protector on it, it's plastic, and your finger's gonna like catch a little bit. Why are you using a screen protector? These have Gorilla Glass now. I'd be hard pressed for you to actually start scratching the screen unless you're doing it on purpose. Talking about the actual upgradability of this, like I said, the bootloader is unlockable, but Huawei is unsure if they're going to update this further past Android 5.1. That's unfortunate because I actually like the form factor of the device. It's fairly quick, fairly speedy. I haven't noticed any lag on it really, other than some minor like UI lag when stuff is downloading or installing and stuff. Otherwise, the thing has been great. Really, I've been using it daily as my daily driver for 3 weeks. Haven't had any issues. It's been phone calls handled it perfectly. I use Google Voice and actually dial over cell, and I've used Hangouts and dialed over data. All that stuff works extremely well. So it's really unfortunate if that's the end of life for this device. And if it is, you're going to really have to think about this. For instance, if you buy this right now and it has Android 5.1 on this, and then you're stuck. Now, you can't do this in a vacuum. The reason I say that is because let's talk about the price of the device. This thing can be had for less than $200 right now. I checked Amazon. The black version is going for like $190. And really, that's a pretty good price. At $190, if this lasts you for a year, I think that's a pretty good deal. And if you like the form factor, really, this is something to really consider. Again, the bootloader is unlockable, which generally means that if you have the skill, or a developer has the skill, or you can entice a developer, they can actually upgrade the device past its end-of-life Android version. So for instance, if a daring developer wanted to, they could theoretically put Android Marshmallow on here without a problem. Hint, hint, some developers should definitely get into this device. The bootloader is unlockable. You should definitely get Marshmallow on this device. There's no reason not to, so you should definitely do that. Come on. Come on. It's a challenge. Think of the challenge that you get doing it. At $190 though, if you like the size of the device and you are aware that this may be end of life on the Android scale at 5.1, and you're willing to put up with those caveats, I really like the form factor. I like the speed. The interface is fine as long as you put a different launcher on there. So yeah, would I buy this device? Maybe not for me personally, but for my family members, yeah. My father loves devices of this size. He was very unhappy when all the devices started getting bigger. He's using an original Moto X, and I'm probably going to gift him this device. And he's very happy with this. And there you go. So, if you like the size of this device, I say go for it. Just know the caveats are there. ASE Labs and ASE Publishing would like to thank Huawei for sending the P8 Lite for review. You can check out links on ASE Labs and this review, go in the description below, for links to various merchants that are selling this product right now. Hint, hint, it's Amazon, and right now it's $190, so go get it. For ASE Labs and ASE Publishing, I'm Aaron Schatz, and thank you for watching. Please be sure to hit the subscribe button that I'm going to put right here, or it's been right here the entire, like literally, it's going to be like right in this corner right here, so you should hit that. You'll be subscribed to this channel that you're watching right now. You'll be informed of all our video content. And remember, like I said in the beginning, if you actually want to read a short summary and you just want to say like, oh, what was the actual final opinion of the device, go into the actual description of this video. You can get the text summary of this review, and you can get the 1 paragraph, 2 paragraph long summary of this device. And there you go. Very quick, very easy. So if you can't actually watch videos, hit that summary, boom. You'll know what we think of the product, and there you go. Also, leave us some feedback on this channel, and make sure you do subscribe, and be involved. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you in the next one.